Hey guys, I just wanted to do a new video on my new phone, but also because I figured this was a great time to do it. Uh, if you're growing catasetums, for the most part, now you should roughly be starting to water if you haven't already. I started watering actually a few months ago for some of them, but I just wanted to talk about them and show off the ones that I have and how they're doing. A couple of them are, pardon me, could be better. A couple of them are doing really well. And you can see, if you can see a handful of them here, there's a few more smaller ones down there. I don't have 1,000 of them, and I'm not going to pretend that I do, but I have a handful of different kinds and different genres, and I figured I'd show them off. So we'll just run through them real quick. This one had some pest issues, but I cleared it because a few of them attracted some mites and other things. Oops, let's see. This is a Frecklegar after midnight crossed on Orchid Glade. It's been all of these for the most part have been started to get the water. Like this one had some mites, and then something happened that caused this, but I had it isolated for what felt like ages. This one, so I'll put it down actually. It's one of my favorites. This is Galliandra boweri. It's like a little helmet-shaped orchid with pink lined lips, and like they're weird. You should look it up. It's not in bloom yet, but it will be because it's spiked. That's a spike right here. This thing. They bloom off the apex of the bulb, and they're sequentially blooming, so they can continue to bloom on the same spike. Or if you cut it back to a node, it'll branch. Like that's a spike. This is my first rebloom of it. It bloomed off of this bulb before, and now it's got this one. They're very skinny bulbs. They're not very chubby like catasetums. There are catasetum crosses with Galliandras, and they're beautiful. But boweri is a coppery flower with pink, and they're fragrant too. This one smells like raspberry candy to me. And I treat this. You treat it like a catasetum. They're in the same alliance, so I could grow them like a catasetum. This giant fella, or this is not the giant fella, this is the one in front of it. This is Catasetum alexandraseva. Also attracted some mites, but it's been cleared. I have a very rigorous treatment that I do for my catasetums if they get mites, which catasetums love to attract mites. This big fella here, also again, it's just something about the climate here. I've just had such terrible luck with mites and things. But it's clear. All of these are clear. So I can talk about my treatment in a separate video if anybody's curious, because if I have this much mite issue, then I have to have a good way to treat it, right? But this is Catasetum frilidoris. This growth is huge. It's about as tall as my Wine Delight here, and Wine Delight is known for getting huge. And there's Signotes Wine Delight. It should start to set a spike soon, I would imagine. It's been growing really fast, and when I first noticed the spikes on this bulb, before it obviously went dormant, back last spring, they started to form like down in here somewhere in this section when it was about this size. So who knows, but it's known for being an absolutely ginormous plant. So let me try and put it down there without breaking anything. There we go. This is Signotes Worzewiczii. This is a true Worzewiczii, not a chlorokylon, because chlorokylon is sometimes sold as Worzewiczii, or a hybrid of the two. But it looks very similar. Worzewiczii is more yellow, chlorokylon is more green. But it's got this is the old bulb, and it bloomed right here. And this is the growth so far. I have started watering it. It's been watered probably like 5 times already, although lightly. This is not a catasetum, but it's just in the way, so I'll talk about it. This is Dendrobium spectabile. This is the beautiful new growth it's producing. It's got a lot of dirt on it because it was sitting outside during a rainstorm to let it get water, and sand and stuff splashed all over it. Here's another Galliandra. This is a little baby one though. This is Galliandra chapadensis. This one's been getting water. It had 2 growths, but one of them dried up. I guess that's okay. Like, I didn't expect it to survive. Catasetum, Chuck Taylor, Coston denticulatum. Little guy. This one I let get a little too dry, admittedly, but it's growing fine. The joy of this hybrid, and denticulatum in general, because Chuck Taylor is a denticulatum hybrid in itself, is that they will bloom during the growth, like the development, so it could start to spike soon, actually, on this one, if it's capable. Since I let it get too dry, I don't know if it will. And they'll rebloom multiple times. They could do it 2 to 3 on average, sometimes 4 to 5. This one here is, this is my HDO, High Desert Orchids project plant, Catasetum. Catasetum upper Askylon, or Askylon, crotch on Catasetum Jose Abalo. This one's getting water as well. This one is an interesting little hybrid. The first one has already bloomed, and it was named Kim's Kiwi, I believe it was, after the person who bloomed it. But it's a weird little hybrid. This little guy is Catasetum Philidoris crossed on Jose Abalo. It's a young plant. This one, these are all getting water by now. Catasetum Chuck Taylor is another denticulatum. This one probably will bloom, I feel. This one is Mormodes Mormodia Painted Desert crossed on Catasetum Milana Davison. Looking good. And then I have this little guy here. This is Cycnodes Spotted Hornet. This is Cycnodes Trouble, or X was the word of the Vicii. It's Cycnodes Troublemaker. This one is just starting to get growing. I gave it a light drink because the bulb was starting to wrinkle, but it's okay. This one, Cycnodes Cooperi. That bulb was a little bit more wrinkled before, but since it started rooting out and I started watering it, it's plumped up a lot. Now I follow Fred Clark's advice of like keeping them dry and like waiting for the roots to get long enough. But if the bulb starts to wrinkle, then too much, then I give them a little bit of a drink. And some of them, like if the roots don't come out well at first, they've actually rooted in amazingly after. Like Wine Delight, for example, it actually didn't root out that well initially, but once it started getting water and more energy, it started to get going more. It rooted out a ton. So it's true that you want to wait on the watering until they get long enough and the growth gets big enough, but if you have to water, you have to water, and they'll forgive you for it, as long as you're careful. You need good airflow, of course, because catasetums, especially when they're just starting to get going, will rot super easily if airflow's not good. But yeah, so I'm definitely not an expert in them. Definitely not the best grower of them because I have so many issues even now. But I have them figured out. I have a treatment for them if they get the mites, which almost every single one of them has at some point in the past. And I know how to handle them now. I actually haven't counted. I don't know. I know I don't have like 1,000, but I actually haven't counted each one to know how many I actually truly have. But most of them come from Sunset Valley Orchids, but the Catasetum Philidoris and the project plant came from High Desert Orchids, and my Galliandra boweri and Galliandra chapadensis came from this one came from High Desert Orchids as well, the chapadensis, and the boweri came from Clown Alley, which is now closed. Now I do have this one still. This is Galliandra stongiana, but it hasn't grown yet. It's like this was an import along with the chapadensis, so they chopped the roots and there's nothing yet. I don't know what to do to get it to grow, but I have it sitting on top of a pot with moss there to get it to start growing. We'll see. They're all three beautiful species, and Galliandras are not sold too commonly in the US as far as I know. I know there's sellers that have them, but they're not super common. But I love them. The Galliandra has to be my favorite genus of the Catasetum alliance, and they're so pretty, so like delicate and like smaller. They're much smaller plants. I think the largest one that I know of is not much taller than this. This one might get a little bit taller as it gets like even bigger of a plant, but I'm excited to see it spike. My last one bloomed 3 times. Once when I got it, once on a rebloom, and then second time on a rebloom. So hopefully this one, now it's established and has grown another bulb, it will bloom even more with more buds, because This one was told I was told to keep growing this one well, and it could be awarded because it has fantastic flowers, larger than most of the species. So I have a really good plant of it right here. So I'm excited for that. But just got a lot of fowls and everything blooming. Oh, I'm tired. Anyway, that's it. Just wanted to do a quick talk about show off the catasetums and talk about the watering. I didn't really talk about the watering. I talked more about them. To sum it up, because I went to do this earlier, and as you know, I don't really have a video plan yet. You generally want to wait until they get like 3 to 5 inches long, sometimes longer, depending on how big the plant is and how big the pot is, before you begin to water. And you do it slowly because the roots got to start taking up the water. And if they're not ready to take up the water, they'll generally kind of sit there just white. They don't change color. But if they're ready to take up water, they'll do like this one's doing, and turn greenish unless they soak up water. And then they get going. The Wine Delight, once it really got going, it got going. And as you can see, like the Philly Doris on the left there is almost as big as the Wine Delight. And at one point it was bigger, but then the Wine Delight put on another spurt of growth. And then these little guys will catch up in no time. Most of those are smaller plants overall. These are some of the bigger ones up here. But they're exciting. I love them. Anyway, I'm gonna head off. This was just a show off of my catasetums and a brief mention of the watering. So I hope you guys enjoy, and see you later.